Welcome back to Sioux Chief Pro, Urinal Carrier Installation Guide, Part 3. In Part 1, we covered this urinal right here. Assembly, measurements, installation. In Part 2, we covered how to install the urinal, how to install the brackets, how to make the urinal fit close to the wall. I'm your host, Wild Bill Westrick, the world's greatest plumber, and now we're going to talk about what's behind the wall. Behind the scenes, behind the drywall, behind the tile, where these anchors go, and the importance of all of the things that you can't see once the wall is closed in. The biggest thing to think about is once the wall is closed in, you can't access this carrier anymore. So the dimensions have to be right, the rough end has to be right, your drain and your water have to be right, but the thing has to be square, it has to be plumb, it has to be in the right position in the wall cavity. This installation here is a 3.5-inch stud. So we're center of the stud, and there's not a whole lot of front to back movement. But if you're in a 6-inch stud or an 8-inch stud or a 10-inch stud, you have to think about the placement of the urinal carrier. The closer it is to the back of this wall, the better it is going to be for you, because the less deflection you'll have on the legs, the less deflection you'll have on the brackets. So a quick review. We've got legs, or uprights as we call them. We've got U-bolts on both sides, the upper plate, the all-thread rods that hold the brackets. We've got a lower plate, lower U-bolts on both sides, and this notch here is where the drain will go. The notch here on the top is for a back outlet flush urinal flush valve, if you have one. What we'd like to talk about now is the anchor bolts. So let's zoom in a little closer to get a picture of the anchor bolts. This is the anchor that we recommend using. This particular anchor is 3 3/4 long, and it's 3/8 in diameter. It comes with a little stud here on the end so the hammer can pound on it, a 3/8 nut, and a 3/8 washer. The purpose for the stud on the end is so you can pound the anchor down into the hole. You want to get a rotary hammer with a drill bit long enough to drill all the way through the concrete floor. The reason for that is if you mess up the anchor, you cannot remove an anchor from a hole that's been drilled in. So this is a wedge anchor. It's got this little device at the bottom. The harder you pull, this thing expands and the tighter it gets in the hole. So you can't ever pull an anchor out, but you can drive an anchor in. We'll get to that in a minute. But we've got 4 anchors on each leg here. So you drill 4 3/8 holes all the way through the concrete, take the anchor, run the nut clear to the top, drop it in the hole, pound it in with a hammer, tighten it down. This is the example of a perfect installation. All 4 anchors look exactly like they should look. Moving over to this other side, all 4 of these anchors also went in perfectly. Whoever the plumber was working on this, he drilled the holes all the way through, set his anchors, tightened them down. This guy's rock solid. Now, as an example of what can go wrong, we're going to come back to this. This is the lavatory urinal. But when this one got installed, the hole didn't get drilled all the way through the concrete. So the hole wasn't deep enough for this anchor. So as you can see, the stud is sticking up about this far. So that's how far this anchor is in the ground. And that's still acceptable, but it's not optimal. Optimal is to have all 4 anchors installed perfectly. But if you mess one up, you're going to be fine because 3 anchors are going to hold this carrier in place, no problem. Same with the urinal. So the purpose of drilling the hole all the way through the concrete is to prevent this from happening. If you get in this situation, this one here got stuck, and so the plumber just hit it harder with a hammer, and it got bent up, and the threads got mashed on the end, and he has no way to remove the stud because the hole wasn't drilled deep enough. If you drill the hole all the way through, you can cut the stud off or remove the nut, remove the washer, and then pound this through the hole, and it will drop through the concrete down into the dirt. You can insert a second anchor and reuse the same hole and get yourself out of a bad situation. So that's why I insist on drilling the hole all the way through, even on an elevated slab. If it's slab on grade, slab on deck, slab on roof, wherever the slab is, drill the hole as deep as you can possibly drill it. So back to the urinal carrier. Just to recap, we've got our legs, lower plate, upper plate. Water would be roughed in at some point here. Drain would be roughed in at some point here. This is what the back looks like. The legs are perfectly plumb, perfectly square, fits in a 3.5-inch wall. And this is the world's greatest urinal carrier right here, my friends. That wraps up our urinal installation carrier video. It's a 3-part mini series. Make sure you catch parts 1 and parts 2 and parts 3. You can probably find links to those on our website. If not, go to YouTube and search it by name, search it by part number, search it by Sioux Chief, search it by Wild Bill Westrick, the world's greatest plumber, or hashtag WGP. Thanks for using Sioux Chief Carriers. We are the world's greatest company, making the world's greatest carriers for the world's greatest plumbers. Stay tuned for our next exciting video. Wild Bill Westrick, out.